Hey you guys, it's Kimberly here on this lovely Sunday afternoon, and I wanted to do a quick how-to video on how to put together this medium-sized book folio. I have a large book folio project how-to video, and I also have a mini, and this is one of two in the medium-sized format, which is for a 4x6 notepad, and it looks like this. And there's the notepad. So you can get these in lined papers, you can get them in squares, in grid paper boxes, and then you can get them in these dots. And I want to thank Sue Kinsey from our Calligraphy Guild here in Tulsa for turning me on to these pads. I love them, and for coming up with this fun pocket that is oriented this way instead of the one that I usually have that is tucking in this way. So thank you. I love this. And it also made me put together a different construction that actually is pretty easy. So that is what we're going to put together, and I have all my pieces cut and scored. I just need to do a little folding and then show you how quickly this puts together. How quickly this goes together. Okay, I have my little directions there, but I'm pretty sure I'll know how to do this. I've got my glue already, and for those of you who know me and know how other bookmakers and folio makers roll, we like to have these little containers that we put our glue bottle down inside a dampened paper towel, so it's always at the ready and the glue is always flowing. Okay, so what we have here, and the pieces that you'll need and the cut sizes and the scoring sizes, I will put down in that box in the instructions. You'll see it. It says more, and if you click it open, then you'll get more information. All right, so here we have it. And this is 11 inches going this way on a piece of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. This is a nice heavy 100-pound weight white cardstock. And then you're doing scoring that goes 4 1/4, 4 1/2, 8 3/4, and 9 inches. And again, I have this sheet here, and I will include these dimensions for the instructions. And I've got this little drawing here that helps me to remember how to fold and bend and all of that. All right, so we have this piece. So this is from cardstock piece number 1, and then you'll need a second piece of cardstock. The scrap left over from cutting this is not big enough to accommodate this pocket. I suppose I could have done it if I'd made this pocket smaller. So I shouldn't say, because this 2-inch piece does come from that strip. And so I probably could have made a very shallow pocket and gotten it from what's left over off of sheet 1, but I wanted a deeper pocket. So this is 3 1/2 inches by 4 3/4 and scored 1/4 inch all the way on 3 sides. And then this is going to be the little piece that our pad is going to slide into, and it's just simply 2 inches by 4 3/4 and scored 1/4 inch on either side. Okay, and then I've got my decorative papers cut. So on this one, I decided to go with just one piece or 2 different patterns of scrapbook paper. You can do as many different color coordinating mix and match that you want to. I typically do a few more than that, but I really liked how these florals just sort of softly fit together. So I just used 2 different pieces and cut, and I actually got enough to make another folio with these same colors. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So very quickly, I'm just going to go ahead and score. I've already scored. I'm going to go ahead and fold these. So we have this nice little spine on both sides. This is to accommodate the pad. I suppose I should pick a pad too. Okay, so we've got that one. Ooh, it's a little Oh, let's see. I know I didn't score it well enough. It was sort of pushing into that other, but now that looks good. That works. Okay, let me get a pad here. I'm going to use this one right here. And then let's go ahead and fold these scores as well. And because these are going to be tightly fit in between the spine, I want to make sure that I really flatten these out. Same with this one. And then I'll show you how I trim the edges or the corners on here just to get rid of a little bit of that bulk. I just do a little diagonal cut like that. I just eyeball it and I cut it on that intersection. And then I go ahead and score this down. All right. And then let's see, I've got one more little piece here that I did go ahead and do a 1/4 inch score on here. This is going to cover up our pad right here to cover that color on that that top, to just so it's not quite so popping out and catching your eye. If I left it like that, it would go great with this over here. If I'd used this topper on this pad, I wouldn't even have had to have covered it. But it's for these soft pastels, so I am going to cover that. And as a matter of fact, let's just go ahead and glue that right now and give it a little time to set up. I am not very fussy, as you can see, on this glue strip. I am super, just scribble it on, and then let's just place it. I just want to cover up. And I might even trim, after this dries, I might even trim. See how this little overhang here? I might trim that off, because sometimes I just kind of get a little anal about stuff like that. Okay, just hold it down. This PVA glue sets up very quickly. I really like using it. Okay, I'm going to set this aside for right now, and we're going to get to gluing our pocket. So the pocket is going to fit right to the edge, right abutted up. Let me just look at this a little. Let me see if I can get that to come in a little closer so you can see that. So I'm going to put this right up to the corner and the edge, and then make sure that this right edge does not go past this first scoring line. Let's see if you can see that. And if you cut precisely, then that'll work great. And when you go to fold it, it doesn't get in the way of bending on that spine. Okay, so very quickly, I just do one little, maybe one and a little couple dots if it's sparse. And then I'm going to set it down there. And like I said, if you cut these precisely and don't cut them too fat, maybe a little on the narrower side, and then just press those down. It'll give it a time to set up a little bit. And the same goes for this. So this is about 5/8. I've measured it so that the pad sits in there very nicely. So I am going to mark this because I don't want to go too narrow or too shy or too short or too long. So this is a 1/2, and I'm going to put little pencil lines at right around 5/8 of an inch. This paper here is 6 3/8. It's a little bit of an odd number. Did I do that right? 1/2, 3/4. Oh, I wanted 5/8, didn't I? Let's see. I got to check and make sure that's not too deep. And what I'm talking about is when you slide this pad in, it depends on your pad. So maybe you even, I want it to sit so that it sits below this top lip, this top edge, and I want it to have a tiny bit on the bottom right here sticking so that your pad is not sitting too low. So let's just go ahead and do this. This is going to fit in between, nestled in between these two scoring spines, and I'm going to align this top edge with that pencil mark, and I'm going to actually push it up a little bit because I think I've got it just a little bit too long. I think it's more 5/8 of an inch, and I put 3/4 of an inch, so I cut the difference on that. And I don't really want to put my pad in yet, but I kind of want to test it. So let's do that. Let's just slide it in very gently, hold it so that it doesn't pull up because the glue hasn't really had time to set. And it's I put it down pretty snug. It's a snug fit. Oh, darn. You know what? I'm going to hold off. I'm not going to put it in yet. I'm just going to let this set. All right. So now we've got our Book Folio cover all made. One continuous piece of paper for the cover, and then just these two little additions right here. Okay, so now we're going to figure out, this is what I've got for my cover, and this is going to be the flap. Like I said, oftentimes I will use contrasting papers, but this pattern on this paper is enough of a contrast. I really think it's pretty. Changed my mind. I'm going with that. And then the second piece that was complementary, it's pretty bland, not a lot going on, but this is the back side, and I have plenty of blank space here to put my little rubber stamp. And then this is going to go on the inside and cover this pocket, and this is going to go on the inside of that. And that's all we're going to decorate, along with the topper on the pad. I think that is just perfect. And then we've got this little pocket right here that we can tuck things in, so that will probably have some pieces that come up into this area. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and very quickly. So basically, as you can see, if you haven't watched any of the other videos I've made with these book folios, I usually go about 1/8 of an inch in, and then I just do a very quick little random scribble. And I get it down fairly soon because this stuff really does set up. And I've got it cut so that it's about 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch white border all the way around. I like a border. Okay, and then I told you I was going to probably trim this, and I'm going to, just a little bit. Make sure that is still pressed down. It is. And then this one is the same, 1/8 to 1/16 of an inch. And doesn't have to be real heavily glued because this is very lightweight. This paper has got a little bit of weight to it, but not very strong. It's less than index weight. Put that, again, it's about 1/8, a little bit more border on the bottom there. But as long as you have a nice white all the way around, you're good to go. Okay, back to the front cover. Make sure I've got it oriented the way I want it. Sometimes it's just easier to do this in my hand so that I don't have to pick it up and accidentally put my fingers in the glue. But if you need to lay this down to glue it and have better control over it, by all means, please do. I'm going to open this up like this so I can get it to lay down flat. You have a tiny little bit of wiggle room to move this around and get your border straight. Little wiggle room, not a lot. And then let's see, we got our back here. I'm going to go with, I think I'm going to do this. I like to swoop from left to right here. I almost never, I do enough of this, and you will too if you do make a number of these, where you get the right amount of flow. These needle applicators put out just the right amount of glue without it gushing out. And I just love how easy it makes putting these folios together. Makes it joy. Okay, one more flap. And I think I decided on this way. Yep. Just eyeball, do whatever pleases you. If you pick papers, I don't know about you guys, sometimes picking the papers, the coordinating matchy-matchy, however you're going to do it, takes longer than doing the actual project. But if you're like me, if you pick papers you really, really like that talk to you, then making these is even more fun. I've made a few. Every once in a while I'll make a few, and they're not papers I just am in love with. And it's just so much nicer when you pick papers that you like. And these, to me, this is just such a pretty print. There we have it. Okay, so now I'm going to go back here, and you know what? I did not get this. When I pressed down on the top here, it smudged the paper. It nudged the paper up just a touch and made this green underneath it show. I do not like that, but we're going to go with it anyway because it's not worth doing anything about right now. So I'm just going to very carefully, this is a snug fit. My other ones haven't been that snug. I'm going to fit it there, push it down, and oh, it's perfect. So yeah, if you do somewhere between 5/8 of an inch and 3/4 of an inch, you will have a little bit on top and a little bit on the bottom. Okay. So they have two options for closures. You can either get, if you already have some of these little tiny dot Velcro dots, they're peel and stick. And if I were using this, I would put one of them here. I would just pick somewhere in between, halfway in between, in about right there, and I would stick one piece there, and then gently I would peel the other one off, affix it to that so that you have them stuck together, right? And then make sure everything's all lined up, and your pad is inside, and then press down so that that other Velcro dot sticks to this part right here. And then, rather than trying to pull it up right away, it takes a minute. It takes a little bit for that Velcro glue tab to start adhering into the paper. So I put this underneath a book and let it just sit, at least for a couple of hours. And then the first time I pull the Velcro apart, I'm very careful, and I try to hold on to that bottom one, and I pull it apart. And once you do that once or twice, then the little fibers aren't quite as sticky, and it allows you to be able to just pull it up without any problem, and then they don't pull apart. But after just that first time you pull it apart, just be very kind of dainty with it, okay? But what I really like are using this little hair bands, and I find a color that pleases me, and I just stick it on there like that, and I love that. And then I would use my little rubber stamp. I have a little rubber stamp that I've carved that has my initials KY on it, and I'll use that in a black ink, and then I'll handwrite the year or the month and the year on there. So there you have a medium-sized folio book that fits a 4x6 notepad. Okay, I would love it if you guys would give this project a try and let me know what you think. Thank you. See you later.